Hey guys, I am here with one of my BFFs, Melissa Whaley. We are going to chat about a recent life experience and change that she has gone through. But first, if you don't know her, you need to know her. So, Melissa, can you tell us more about you? And then we will dive into life.
Yes, ma'am. Well, hi, I'm Melissa. Once upon a time, I would introduce myself as a tax advisor, but that's not who I am anymore. But I am a wife to RJ and a mom of 5 and soon to be 6 kids. And I live in Southern California where it's hot and dry, not by the beach. And starting over a whole new exciting journey of business stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Yay! So, let's dive right in. You said you used to introduce yourself as a tax advisor. You're my tax advisor, and I love you for it. You've saved me lots and lots of money. You still have videos that people can go watch and learn all about business stuff and taxes. So tell us what happened. What's the change?
So I had my tax business for, I want to say 6 or 7 years. I was in the tax industry for about a decade and change. And the fact that I had that job was like totally God/accident because I didn't go to college to become an accountant. That was not on my trajectory at all. But right after my oldest daughter was born, I desperately needed a job and H&R Block was hiring. So that's how I got into taxes. I mean, I'd always helped my parents with bookkeeping in their business, so it wasn't foreign to me. But I fell into that business, ended up starting my own business when I wanted to have more kids and work from home. And so I ran my company from home for about 6 years and it was awesome. We moved 3 times during that. And that is the beauty of online and virtual business, is that you can take it with you wherever you go. So it was a big blessing during that season of life. But really it started in 2019. So most people didn't know, because obviously when you're going to shut down your business, you have to kind of keep it quiet for a while. But I actually began the process and thought pattern of shutting down my business in 2019. I had just had number 5 kid and was like, this is insane. And part of this was like, I think, a funny God joke, okay? Because I had 4 kids and I was like, okay, I'm content. We're good. Like, we're done. I can handle 4 kids and homeschool and run my business, which was a total lie in my head. But in my head, I was convinced I could do all these things. And then I joked, oh, if I get pregnant with number 5, I'm going to have to shut down the business because there's no way I could do this. And then I got pregnant with number 5. So it was a lot of discussion with my Bible study girls, a lot of prayer, but I was like, okay, God, like, I'm not going to rescind on this. If I said I would quit after 5, then I better do this. So I did my last tax season in 2020. It was the most insane year of doing taxes in the 10 plus years I had done taxes. And I started doing taxes in 2009 tax year, 2010 spring. And so that was with all the brand new Obama tax changes and things. So I was used to new presidents and tax changes, but all of the COVID tax changes were insane, absolutely insane, like worse than when any president got into office tax changes. So I was losing my mind in many arenas and decided to shut it down at the end of tax season, except they extended tax season all the way to July of last year. So I didn't actually shut down my business until July of 2020. And now here I am trying to reinvent myself a little bit with other businesses because I'm still an entrepreneur. I can't just like not have something going on. It's in my blood, it's in my brain.
Yeah, isn't it funny how you're just like, I gotta do something. I'm sitting over here. I'm like, okay, so I went to this really awesome nail salon in Denver. They still look beautiful. A week and a half later, and I was like, man, I wonder if she wants to like franchise. And I would like own a salon here in Wisconsin. Of
Business
course.
coach brain. This is how our brains work.
I know. And I was like, So I haven't reached out to her yet because I'm like, realistically, Danielle, you can't handle running a salon. You hate driving up there anyway. Like the town that I would put it in is, it's 15 minutes, which 15 minutes to like Texans is like, that's next door.
Southern California, that's like normal. Like we can't get anywhere in less than 15 minutes.
I'm kind of spoiled, but so anyways, but yeah. So there was more that went into shutting down your business than just having a baby. Like, tell me more about the backstory of that and kind of how you've seen God change your heart over the last year.
So one of the big things that I think was I had a huge shift in my theology over probably the last 3-4 years. And so part of that, I mean, like really Cliff Notes version here, I grew up in a Pentecostal denomination. So I grew up in a denomination where women could be pastors, women were pastors, and my goal, and I went to college to study ministry to be a pastor. So I was like, yay, feminist Christian. But over time and like leaving that denomination for a lot of different reasons, and not all of them like negative, just it not being the right fit anymore, listening to a more varied like amount of theology and influence, because I think my understanding was very narrow. And so I expanded my horizons and learned from all kinds of different places. And I wouldn't place myself in any denomination or specific place anymore. But I've been positively influenced by both ends of the spectrum of like the hyper Pentecostal and the super reformed. And I'm thankful for all ends of flavors of Christianity. But it definitely, I had a shift in my theology where I realized like, that's probably not the most biblical model, truly biblical model of like, yay, women in that sense. But I was also being fed that same feminism stuff in the business world, especially in this like bossy mommy, like you can do anything, you can be a CEO of a 6-figure business and be a stay-at-home mom and not sacrifice anything, and your kids will be happy and your husband will be happy and you'll be happy and you'll still have all this money. And it was just like, I was totally buying that lie. I was buying that lie that I could somehow like be a faithful wife and like actually serve my husband well and take care of my kids and steward my home and run this business and have all this money, and I would be completely satisfied, and that would be like the thing that made me happy. And it was not. I was burning out hardcore. So just like all a really bad business advice and lies that is totally worldly advice, totally worldly wisdom. And it was just kind of slowly crushing my soul trying to do all the things, because I realized that I personally was not built to do all those things in the way that I was doing them.
So explain to us more about what you believe the Bible has for us as women. I mean, we still agree that women can teach women. Like that's a thing. We still agree that women can run businesses.
Yes.
That's a thing. So explain to us more, just do more clarification about what you mean.
True. I did not like turn into some like prairie wife and put on a dress and go start a like homestead and hide from the world, which
hey, granny chic is a deal. Like
it's true.
Little House on the Prairie.
I do still want a homestead, but that's for completely different reasons. And I did grow up with animals and stuff. But no, I'm not like anti-women doing their thing. I am not like go be little Miss Submissive housewife at home, which that's a whole nother episode discussing the word submission and submissive. But the negative side of submissive, we're not going there. We think submission is a positive thing in the right way.
Yes.
So
it's actually on my list of things to talk about. So
nice. Okay.
Coming soon.
Nice. See? Preview. But yeah, so I think really what it was is that I was idolizing my business and idolizing the business world. And this idea that that more money was going to make me happy. I mean, my husband and I got married literally a week after graduating college. So straight out of college, got pregnant 4 months later, ended up living in my parents' house for a year with a newborn. Not the most ideal situation. So we were broke as broke can get. And so and we were broke for a really good chunk of our marriage. I mean, even up until a couple of years ago, we just never had enough income. So my brain was like, you have to find ways to supplement the income. And I had worked regular jobs outside of the house, and that was okay for that season. And it worked for us. But I thought this business is my ticket. This is a way to, I can save our family and fix our finances and all of these things. And the reality was that I wasn't being a good steward of our home. I wasn't being a good wife to my husband. I was ignoring him a lot to run the business, do business stuff. I wasn't even being good with our money, which was the whole point. It was so dumb, you guys. I mean, I literally would make all this money, and then I am totally if you listen to Dave Ramsey at all, I am the spender of our marriage. I love spending. Gifts are my love language. So I've definitely, the Lord has been growing me in self-control over the last decade. But I would, get money from the business and then be like, okay, well, we can use this much for our family, and I'm just going to blow the rest on Starbucks and this pretty microphone and all this stuff, because it was oh, I need these business things to grow my business. And I just got so caught up in so much of the FOMO, fear of missing out in the business world, and thought I had to do these things. I have to buy these courses. I have to spend all this money. And so I wasn't even contributing to our family's finances in the way that I should have been. And I was ignoring my husband, and I got to the point, because of the type of business I had. And this was another big shift, is that I had a very service-based business. So even though it was virtual, I didn't have to show up in person with people 90% of the time. I still had to lock myself away in this office and tell my kids, don't bother me, because I had to do all these meetings. And then I personally have an ADD type brain, and I cannot focus very well if there's any distractions. So obviously doing taxes and bookkeeping, it's a very focus required job, which I can hyper focus. That's a benefit of how my brain works. But that was usually between the hours of 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. And that worked really great when I had 1, 2, 3 kids. Once I hit 4, my brain started to be you can't do this anymore. And then I hit 5 kids, and I'm what's my name? Part of that's just sleep. You don't sleep a lot. But yeah, so I was just, my whole point when I started my business was, hey, I want to stay home with my kids. I want to be more available. I want to have flexibility. I want to, not have to put my kids in daycare if I don't want to, having the choice, right? Because it's not about that it's a good or a bad choice to put your kids in daycare or childcare or school, public school or private school or whatever. It's just, I wanted to have the choice for myself rather than be feeling forced into one decision. So yeah, just all that stuff that just blurted out a ton of stuff. But I wasn't taking care of my family. I was not basically when I actually was looking at scripture about marriage and about motherhood, I realized that our first calling is to our spouses and our kids. And if we're not serving them well first, then whatever, it doesn't matter how much we're succeeding in other areas, whether it's a business or volunteering or ministry, because I've done that too, where I overcommit myself in ministry and burn out there, like all the places. If you're not serving your family first, then you're out of alignment with what God has called you to ultimately.
Yes, and from somebody that's done that as well, it's not good. So no condemnation for anybody who's in that place right now.
No.
That's not what we want you to take from this. We want you to take the reprioritization. And I think that's something that I talk about a lot, is like the family, the stewarding the home, and then business. Whenever you see my priorities, it's always going to be family and then home and then business. So what led you to reprioritize, and how was that something that you are working on now? Worked on?
Yeah.
Did? I feel like it's constantly something we have to like realign.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely still working on. No means perfection or even close to it yet. I think what's interesting is what really sparked a lot of it was some like really deep struggles that my husband and I were having in our marriage. So even though like having a lot more kids was a big contributing factor, just like the big struggles we were having in our marriage, realizing that our marriage was not, we were not operating biblically in our marriage at all. We were treating each other like crap. And both of us realized like we need something, we need to change. And we started listening to a lot of biblical marriage podcasts. We did a course, I think it was through Dale and Veronica Partridge. I don't know if they still have it up. I think it's called Ultimate Marriage, but we went through that course because it just like, again, it's not like an elaborate thing, but it just breaks down like, hey, have you actually looked at the scriptures and what they say about what how a wife is supposed to treat her husband, how a husband is supposed to treat his wife. So this wasn't a one-sided thing, right? Like we both recognize that each of us were not doing things well and we needed to change that. And then I looked at just how our house was running. And I mean, my husband and I have very equitable distribution of like household chores and that kind of thing. And that's never been a problem. Like my husband doesn't feel like I'm dumping stuff on him. He likes to cook. He likes to do stuff. But also like he got to a point where he was so discouraged in the point of his career. He was like, well, I'll just be a stay-at-home dad and you can run your business. And I was like, whoa. That is not what I want at all. Like, and I'm not saying that may not be the right thing for some people, but when I look at scripture, it's like, no, the husband is supposed to be the provider, the primary provider in many ways, not just financially. And I'm supposed to be primarily discipling my kids and stewarding my home. Those are our domains. And then we figure out how to collaborate together in making it all work, right? So that was eye-opening for me, that he was so discouraged and feeling like that he had no confidence, and all my confidence was fake confidence, because it was like, well, I got more clients, but now I'm crying myself to sleep at night because like I said yes to horrible clients and they're super mean, and just it was bad. So yeah, like reprioritizing our marriage was a huge factor. And then like in that, really studying the scriptures of like, okay, what is my role first? What should I be doing? Like, yeah, I was barely managing the house at all. I mean, like at all. And I realized like, this is not good, that I'm just kind of either like shoving this off on my husband and my kids, but not even giving them clear direction, So what I wasn't managing it. There's a difference between just like dumping responsibilities off and being the manager. Like you can manage and delegate versus dump. So I was dumping, I was not delegating. And the other thing was that we homeschool our kids, and we started homeschooling when my oldest started second grade. And so, like I was kind of like, we'll say doing a half-ass job with my daughter the whole time. Like we leaned a lot on our co-op and a lot of things. And she entered junior high this year. And I was like, oh, dang, I need to step up my game. And then my younger kids are now, there's a big age gap between my oldest and then the next one, 5 years. So my son started his school. And now I'm like, I have to actually homeschool him. Like, I can't just have him do random things and watch TV all day. And yeah, and my kids were like watching TV all the time. And so there was just a lot of things where when I stopped and looked at the whole situation of my life, I was like, this is not good. These things are out of control. Nobody's happy. Like something's got to change.
So you realistically took it from like chaos to calm.
Yeah.
Or calmer. Because with 5 kids,
yeah.
it's never calm. Like no. There's no calm.
No. But there was no structure. Like there really wasn't a lot of structure. It was mom works these days from these. So realistically, even though I was working from home, I was the same as if I was going to an office and working for someone else's business, because I had to lock the door, I had to hire babysitters, I had to tell them not to bother me, and then I would not go to bed with my husband and work for 4 hours at night and just constantly be behind and stressed and angry and grumpy, and it was not pretty. So there was a lot of chaos. And so we've been implementing structure in our lives, which is a good thing.
It's such a good thing. And having walked beside you the whole last 4, 5, whatever years it is now, it's way better. Yeah. And you're so much happier doing it.
It's true. I was not happy for a while. I was just like always upset about stuff.
No. I want to shift our conversation to talk about money, because for one of the things that you had said, it sounded like you were in kind of a scarcity money mindset.
Yeah.
And with the mindset class series that I have coming out in June, I want to talk about money mindset and kind of the shifts that you've had, how your business has impacted that, and where you are right now, and kind of how you see that as a biblical shift in your mindset.
Yeah, I definitely had, my husband and I both had scarcity mindset for a long time. And some of that is a product of, childhood. He grew up with very little money. I grew up with the appearance of having money and being quote unquote rich, not really, but in his mind, it looked like my family was rich because we had property and horses and computers and things. And he's like, I grew up on WIC and food stamps.
Yes. Oh, before we move on, can you just describe scarcity mindset for me, please?
Yes, absolutely. So the way that I've kind of unpacked the idea of the scarcity mindset is that to its core, there's not enough and there's not going to be enough. Like you're always afraid that there's not going to be enough. And from a Christian perspective, it's really that God's not going to provide, and that I have to pick up the slack. And like, I can't trust God to meet our needs, because on paper, whatever, when I look at the money or when I look at our life, it doesn't feel like he's providing, and I'm not seeing where he's providing. So I'm just gonna have to bootstrap it and, get to work and figure it out myself. And so it really is, it's a lack of trust of the Lord in a lot of ways, which is like harsh. It feels like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But that is where I had to realize, like, you're not trusting the Lord to provide. And there were those moments where I would look back and be like, wow, God has done so much. Like, look what he did here. Look what he did here. Look how he provided for us. He like made it so that we could move. He always provided a job. And there was even a season where my business was buying groceries. I mean, we were living off of whatever my business made and credit cards for like a year in this transition time. And I was just like, ah, but God always provided. We were never homeless. We were never without food. We were never without clothes, just, so it was the perspective shift of things. So I was stuck in this, like, I have to work, because if I don't work, there won't be money for the things that I want. That was the other thing. It was like, well, I don't want to have to sacrifice my coffee and my Target runs and having a second car and, buying new clothes instead of clothes at the thrift store, just like ridiculous stuff in my mind sometimes.
The lies that we've been told as well. Like, this is what you need, like instant gratification. You want to go get something, log on to Amazon and buy it. Like, it's right there.
And that's the thing. Like, I had an expectation of what my life and lifestyle should be based on how I was raised. And even now, like, I'm 36 and I'm having my 6th kid. And my mom had me, her first kid, at 36. So now looking at going, I've been married 13 years and I got married young and we had no money. And now in our 30s, we're more established. Like, my husband has a good career. Like, he has his paycheck, pays all the bills and buys all the clothes and the groceries, and nobody is suffering. Not that we were suffering before, but like, we're totally solid, good on his income. And so to think that, like, I had this expectation of like a 30s lifestyle when I was 24. And I thought, like, well, when I was growing up, my mom could take me to fast food every day after school. And when I was growing up, like, I always got the toys that I wanted and we could eat this food and not that food. Also, you look back at a lot of your childhood with rose-colored glasses, because my parents worked and my mom worked. And I'm like, we ate a lot of frozen dinners when I was like this age to this age.
Yeah. You're like, oh,
wait,
fast food's not that good for you.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I spent a lot of time at my grandma's before I started school because my mom was trying to run a business. I wasn't thinking practically of where my life stage was and just where we were at. And then, so because of that, we weren't stewarding our finances well. We were always freaking out, or I was always putting stuff on a credit card because I thought I needed it. And instead of finding a way to save and budget, like, we were horrible at budgeting. I mean, it was bad. And the other thing that was a huge shift for us, and this is, our marriage, is I had always been in charge of the finances because my husband didn't want to. And I think he was kind of afraid of telling me no. He was afraid of telling me no. Like, he did not want to make me angry. He did not want to disappoint me. So he would never tell me no. So I would just buy whatever I felt like I wanted or we could maybe afford, but that included running up credit cards all the time. When I was in charge of the finances, and that was a long time, it was like 10 years, it was not good. Like, and we weren't a partnership in that. We were not, again, operating biblical. We weren't like working together. And so 3 years ago, I told him, I was like, I'm done. You have to take over the finances. Like, I can't do this anymore. There's too many things on my plate. And so that was a big and hard shift for him, because he knew he needed to do it. He knew he needed to take that leadership over in our marriage, but it wasn't easy. And it, caused a lot of fights and a lot of things, but it's also been growing for him in that now he feels like he has a good grasp of the finances. So there's less fights because he's not like, what are you spending money on? And I have a better understanding of how much money can I spend without us screwing our family over and getting in trouble. And, I can't go buy fast food if we're not going to have enough for groceries by the end of the month, that kind of stuff. Just learning how to work together and not fight and communicate well has been a huge step. Both of us doing a lot of personal work on ourselves and a lot of prayer, just to understand that money isn't bad, the Lord gave us money to manage our home and take care of our family. So I think we both had this money is just so messy. It's like bad. There's so much you can do bad. And then the scarcity and never feeling like there's enough. So we've had a lot of huge shifts in our mindset together that have helped us feel like we can communicate about money better. We can steward our finances better and not feel like we're always playing catch up and always behind. And, so now we're not in that. We have goals and we've set them and we're like working towards that and we're actually budgeting and we're actually saving money. And so that's been huge for us.
That's awesome. I think it's so important when we start realizing the fact that money's not bad. Like there's, the money is the root of all evil Bible verse that just gets thrown out there.
Which is misquoted.
It is
the love
exactly
of money.
But people don't want to take that personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's so much, at least in my own money story, taking that responsibility. As you said, I'm the spender. Like he was the spender when we got married. It totally flipped and was like, I'm the spender now. Like I am the one that's spending money. And part of it is my parents raised us really well. Like we learned how to save money. We gave tithe. We did all this stuff. We had like this amount of money, but I got used to spending the extra money that we had. And then he got out of the Navy and we lost his income and we lost like all the other stuff and we lost, and then we moved to Hawaii and it was like, I'm so depressed. It's so expensive there. I was so depressed. I was so like, just not in a good headspace. And so spending money was like, oh, at least I can do something right. Like I can at least make my house look pretty. Like for the time that we were there a year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent so much money. And now like the extra shower curtain I bought is down in a box. Still really pretty, but in a box. And so having to shift my mindset and being like, okay, like this is ultimately what you said about the scarcity mindset, like trusting God to provide. And that's something that's so important. And that's one of the affirmations that I use is like, my God will provide. Like he provides, he has provided in the past. And seeing that, and I talk about this along with rest, because I think it goes so much in like rest and money are kind of woven together because we look at it and we're like, as you said, that hustle mindset, like I have to work, I have to get this, I have to do it. And we just put ourselves in a tailspin because we're like working so hard to make all the money. And eventually you have to face facts. So it's just been a really interesting, like you've done it. I'm working through that as well and trying to figure out like, okay, God, how do I budget this? Like, what does that even look like for my family? And where is my self-control? And I'm not going to lie, my $25 at Starbucks every month does not go very far.
Amen.
But
and because I'm pregnant right now. I don't know what it is about being pregnant, but I swear I go to Starbucks 10 times when I'm pregnant, even though I own an espresso machine in my house. Like I literally have no excuse. I just like driving through and getting pretty drinks.
Well, and it's like, I'm not having to put forth effort, except I have to drive. Yeah. Granted, the closest Starbucks is 15 minutes away. And I'm like, I just don't feel like driving there today. But
that advantage. Mine is 5.
My podunk town doesn't have a drive-through coffee shop. It's one of the biggest gripes I have with this town. Okay. What pieces of advice do you have for somebody who either feels like they're in the same spot as you as far as their house and their wifely duties, like being a homemaker, all that stuff, or they're in the same place with their money mindset?
So first I would just say like, this is a process, right? So you don't instantly go from like chaos and feeling out of control to I'm calm and I've got it all together now. Like,
Totally a process. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a process of years for me. Okay, so just start with small steps. I think it honestly starts with a lot of prayer, and really just like laying your life back down to the Lord and saying, okay, God, what do you want for my life? Because obviously what I want isn't working right now, like then that was a huge thing for you. It's just what I want or what I thought I wanted or what the world was telling me that I wanted and I needed is not working. And this is, it's killing me and I need a shift. So just really commit it to the Lord in prayer and lean on his strength to be brave to do the hard things, because I literally shut down my business in its most profitable year. And that was 6-7 years in. It was finally becoming super profitable, but it was also literally killing me. So you got to just make the hard decisions and trust that the Lord will reward those hard decisions if you're staying faithful to where he's calling you, So, and just being open and honest with your spouse to have the hard conversations too, because it's not pretty. It's not fun at first. But again, just like starting that process and also just like leaning on the church around you, whether that's, the actual church you attend or just other believers and friends who are going to support you in prayer and not like just be the like, yeah, whatever you say, like the people like Danielle who are going to call you out and be like, no, Melissa, I don't think you should be doing that. Or like, that's not a good direction for you to go. And I'm like, oh, you're right. Oh, crap. So yeah. And just really dive into the scriptures. I think like we lean too heavily on everything outside of scripture. Sometimes it's just easier to be like, well, I'm doing my devotion or I'm listening to this podcast or like I'm watching this teacher on YouTube, and we're not actually just going to the scriptures ourselves.
Or like scrolling Instagram and being like, oh, that's a nice verse.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't cut it.
Yeah. I mean, like I literally went to college and was taught hermeneutics and exegesis, like how to study the Bible. But did I start applying that? Not till 10 years later. No. So take the time, and it may just be small pockets of time in the beginning, but the Lord will provide. It really does. I mean, we have to lay down our cross and trust the Lord that he's going to provide and he's going to do the things. Because you kind of just have those like moments where you have to call yourself to the mat and say, do I trust the Lord or not? And you have to determine that answer for yourself. Like, we can't tell you like, yeah, I can see you trust. It's like, no, you can't just have a bunch of cheerleaders be like, you got this. Like, you just got to lean in and do the hard work. That's the thing. You just got to do the hard work. So that's kind of the overarching advice for both like money stuff and business stuff and marriage stuff. Like, do the hard work, because honestly, it's worth it. One of our friends, when we were like married a couple years, he was a pastor of a different church that shared the building. So he was a little bit older than us. And he was talking to my husband one day, because we were still in our 20s and he was in his 30s. And he said, the 30s are for shoveling poop. He's like, in your 30s, that's when you shovel all the poop and you deal with your crap. And we were kind of like, okay, like, and now we're in our mid 30s and we're like, yup, we're shoveling the poop. Like, we are doing the hard things because you realize like, I don't want to be 50 and all of a sudden wake up one day and go, I have a horrible marriage. I treated my kids like crap. We still have no money and I'm not any happier than I was 20 years ago. Like, I would rather do the hard work now and really like lean in and be faithful to the Lord so that I can like actually have the life that he has said he wants to give us, abundant life, right? Like, he doesn't want us to be miserable our whole life, and like our happiness and our joy doesn't need to be tied to how much money is in our bank account or how many cars are in our driveway or how big our house is. And that's been a huge shift too, of just like being content in all circumstances. Like, how the heck did Paul sit there in prison and say, I am content in all circumstances? Like, I want that. How do I do that?
Right. Well, and the thing is, statistically, the people who have more are not happy.
No,
They
they're
never
not.
learn contentment because it's always trying to hit that next wicket. Not saying that having more is a bad thing. Like, I would love a Jeep Wrangler in my yard right now. Like,
Right?
that would be awesome.
You don't want my 15 passenger van, Danielle? It's so awesome.
But my husband wants your 15 passenger van. I don't. He's over there shaking his head.
Big family problems.
He also wanted like 6 kids when we got married. And I was like, no, sorry. Oh, he's saying 5. 5 kids.
Okay. You got room for one more. You're good.
Yeah. So I think because there's so much of that goes into the mindset and just, finding your joy in the Lord. And that's another one of the verses that I use as an affirmation is like, the joy of the Lord is my strength. All throughout boot camp 10 years ago or 12 years ago. Oh my gosh, 12 years ago. That was like the verse. I was like, the joy of the Lord is my strength every day as I was doing push-ups and red in the face and hating life. I actually really enjoyed boot camp in a lot of ways. There was structure and I was where God wanted me.
Yes.
But anyways, anything else you wanted to add about money mindset?
It's just, just what I've said, basically. It's hard work. It's not going to be easy, but making the shifts and leaning in is so rewarding. Like, God has done so many good things. Like, my husband and I, my kids and I, we are in such a better place than we were even a couple years ago, like way better place. And that's not financially per se, but more so what's important to me is relationally and spiritually. Like, we have better relationships in our family because I'm not seeking after other things. And we have, just better stability, like, and better spiritual relationships, like, because I am trusting the Lord and I'm not trying to lean on my own strength and do it all myself. And, all this, you are enough on your own, again, bad worldly advice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just leaning so much on this worldly business hustle stuff that it was totally crushing me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So just quick on your next business venture, tell us what you're doing and why you are excited about it.
Well, it's funny because I'm kind of doing 2 different things. And one of them is that I am doing a business with my husband, which is like a huge thing because we would have never been able to do that before, ever. He tried to help me with bookkeeping one time and it was a disaster. So he and I have started a podcast for homeschoolers because homeschooling is one of our passions. And that's what he does for a living. He's a teacher. He supports homeschoolers. So we have that. We have the Trailblazing Homeschool podcast. And so that's just been a fun thing right now. It's not like super monetized or anything particularly amazing yet, but it's just like us learning to work together. And then the other thing that I shifted to is actually being part of a MLM network marketing company and doing Young Living with You, which has been super fun. And I think it's funny because, like, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years and I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My parents simultaneously ran 3 to 4 businesses at a time. So it's nothing new to me. And so a lot of people think that network marketing, like, it gets a bad rap or it's like, it's not a real business. And honestly, the amount of business experience I have, it is so refreshing to go back, like, not go back as in it's backwards, but just go to something where I'm not the sole person trying to run a business by myself that, like, we have a team, and it's really just like I'm using products that I love and I'm sharing products that I love, and we're building a business based off of that. And it is way different in its demands and time for my family. So I can do the things from my phone half the time. And now my husband is so interested in business, and he's like so supportive of the Young Living business too, that he's like, oh, are you watching a training? Can I watch that with you? Like, hey, when are we signing up for a convention? Are we like, oh, okay, let's do this together, because he loves learning alongside me. So that's been just really fun and a lot less pressure and stress than running the business by myself.
And you get to work with me, which is the best thing.
I know, because like we're the best team ever.
Yeah. No, really, like being able to do business with your best friend or your husband is amazing. Like, and I think so much of the time, like as a business owner, like an entrepreneur, a soulpreneur, I'm the only one that I talk to about business. And so like having a core group of girls that I can talk to and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking. Am I crazy for thinking I can do all this? And then, oh, by the way, did you try this oil because it's amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And these vitamins are keeping me running because vitamin B is like life right now.
It is the mom's best friend.
Yes. So.
Nah, it's true. We have an awesome group of people. And I think that was the other thing, is I'm such an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
And so while it was very like energizing for me when I was working one-on-one with a client, that was only a tiny part of when I was running my business as a solopreneur. And towards the end, I had like a team member, but even then, like it was so lonely. And so switching to a model of business where, yes, you're responsible for your income. No one's going to earn money for you, but you are part of this amazing team, and they're all just supporting each other and encouraging each other. And like, you know, we've got leaders on our team that are teaching classes for us, and we've got like, and we're all messaging each other all day long and encouraging and answering questions. And so it's just night and day. It is night and day from being a solopreneur in a industry that is not terribly fun to now a bunch of awesome oil slinging moms
who just want to take care of other people.
Seriously, we just want to have fun and give everyone in the world oils.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this interview with me. And I hope that people have found nuggets of goodness they can take away and just apply them. Because really, we want you to apply these things. We don't want you to just listen, like take them and apply them, even if it's just spend 5 minutes reading your Bible every day. Yeah. And then if you really want to work on your money mindset, I'm going to plug my money mindset class series that's coming up. Cart opens in like about a week when this launches, when this podcast posts. It is called Renew Your Money Mindset, a Christian Woman's Roadmap to Becoming a Joyful Financial Steward. So this is the only time I'm running it live, and then it will be just videos. So if you want in on the live,
sign up, because Danielle is amazing. And we aren't just friends. She has actually coached me many times in the past. And gosh, we've been talking about this money mindset stuff for years.
3 years.
Crazy.
4 years.
This is not our first podcast episode talking about money.
Nope. So, obviously we like it.
Yeah. But I'm so excited that you're doing this course. So people should do it. That's your plug. Don't just listen to Danielle. Listen to Melissa. She says sign up now.
Let's get that in writing. I need that for my sales page.
We'll transcribe that. Throw that up.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Melissa. Oh, tell people where they can find you. So both your trailblazing.
Yeah. So our podcast is Trailblazing Homeschool. You can also find us on Instagram or trailblazinghomeschool.com. So if you want to learn about homeschooling, that's where you can find me. Right now, personally, I'm most active on Instagram, and you can follow me at ohheymelissawhaley.com or ohheymelissawhaley on Instagram. I'm redoing my website. It probably won't be done till the end of summer. So don't worry about that. Just find me on.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Danielle.